And I'd say, I'm going to make a deal with your child. If your child comes to my class on time, mentally dressed to play, prepared, I'm going to do everything possible to make absolutely certain that she or he can compete anywhere in the world. End of the discussion. Never had any trouble at all. And that's my feeling when I'm a teacher, when I'm a professor, when I walk in here. I don't want you to fail. I don't want you to fail. I'm going to do everything possible. We'll do it together to make sure what? That when you leave this class, when you leave this session, you leave with what? With something of worth. That's going to make you a better person. Let me just share with you a couple of illustrations about some other students. And I have remarkable students, just absolutely remarkable students. Students, for example, like Jerry Dempsey. By the way, most of my students have retired. I'm the only one still working. But students like Jerry Dempsey. Jerry had a remarkable career. He was CEO of Borg-Warner Chemical Waste Management, retired a couple of years ago as a CEO, as a chairperson of PPG, Pittsburgh Plate Glass. Jerry held down 2 full-time jobs, putting himself through our MBA program. And I take a look at those accomplishments, and of course, this makes me feel good. I'm also a realist to know that he would have done that without me. Or a student like Sam Turner put himself through a very, very tough actuarial science program. Sam had a remarkable career. By the way, he put himself through school driving an 18-wheeler. Became the CEO, became the president of the Life Insurance Company of Virginia. E.R. Mitchell, an African-American student, finished his undergraduate degree at Georgia State, his MBA at Harvard. And if while you're here, if you ride MARTA, if you ride one of our subways here, chances are that station built by the E.R. Mitchell Construction Company. Well, once again, I'm not saying that, my teaching did this, but I can tell you right now, you build an organization, any organization where you want people to succeed, and it's going to make all of the difference in the world. Most of us work for organizations where people wish you well, but not too well. If you really want to provide leadership, if you want to build a winning culture, you build an organization where we celebrate the accomplishments of others so that what? So that everyone gets well together. Everyone gets well together. My only regret right now well, I've got several regrets right now. But at this particular point, you may very well be saying to yourself, well, even if I do agree with certain of your observations, which at best is unlikely, what really can I do to change things once I leave this room? Well, if this in effect is your feeling, and perhaps it is, I have what I consider to be an eminently practical suggestion. I'd like to recommend that you eliminate from your thought, from your thinking, from your philosophy, and particularly from your vocabulary, 2 words. Why me? Don't think it. Don't say it. I wonder how many saw the George Burns, John Denver film. By the way, it's 25, 30 years old. How many of you saw Oh God? Well, if you didn't, get hold of it. Watch the last 10 minutes. I can tell you the last 10 minutes were 20 times the time your effort. It's a wonderful film. You recall the theme? Remember John Denver, an assistant supermarket manager, suddenly believes he has visits with God, played by George Burns. Well, John Denver goes home, tells his wife and his children, Could you imagine somebody telling you this? Do you know yesterday evening I spent a few hours with God? And what a delightful, what a wonderful, what a thrilling experience that was. And he said, oh, really? What did God look like? He said, well, he's about this big, wears a fishing cap and tennis shoes. He said, God smokes a cigar. They all said, right. He got fired. The final scene, and this is the one I commend to you, is a wonderful scene. John Denver, devastated emotionally, absolutely destroyed financially, is now driving out of town with God, with George Burns, in John Denver's automobile, and how well I recall that automobile. I actually owned one. It was an AMC Pacer. Now, even then, I felt there was a very special message. And I recall John Denver turning to God and asking, as incidentally each of us has asked, and if you haven't done it yet, let me assure you, you undoubtedly will. He turned to God and asked, dear God, of all the people in this world, of the millions and billions of human beings, dear God, why me? The answer, I can tell you from experience, it's always the same. Why not you? You want to make a difference? You want to build a winning culture? You want to be a decent human being? Simply stated, why not you? Well, now that you've gotten rid of why me, you see how easy that is? I'd like to now recommend that you develop the ability to listen with 3 ears. To listen with 3 ears. You know how unusual that is? Look around. And with ear number 1, I'd like to suggest that you listen. You listen to what the other person says. Of course, you may be saying at this particular juncture, why should I listen to what the other person says? After all, the other person rarely listens to me. And of course, you are precisely correct. When I conclude in just a few moments and someone asks you, how are you doing? Tell them the truth. Tell them poorly. Tell them in all likelihood you may not survive this occasion. Note the reaction. I'm glad to hear that. Ear number 1, don't say anything. Just listen. Just listen to what the other person says. Now, with ear number 2 has got to be a bit more finely attuned than ear number 1. I'd like to recommend that you listen to what the other person does not say, and of course what we don't say can be much more important than what we actually express. And then with ear number 3, this is the leadership ear. Let me tell you something, this is really the leadership ear. You want to be able to listen to what the other person wants to say, but simply does not know how to say it. And you tell me, who in here has not found herself or himself in a situation you want to say something, you want to talk, you want to express yourself, you don't know how. You just don't know how. You may even be afraid of an individual controlling a situation. You want to make a difference? You want to be a real leader? Establish a relationship, a connection, where other people will feel free to talk, to communicate, even if they don't know how.